and welcome to Just Onside. It's Sunday, it's wet, it's miserable here in Blackburn, even though perhaps it looks really bright from over my shoulder. Believe me, it's miserable. How's it your way?
When you say it's looking bright over your shoulder, maybe you're alluding to the game because I think that's Leeds West Ham
Well
from
spotted, my friend, well spotted.
from Friday night. But I imagine, yes, you were alluding to the weather. No, it's lovely over here. Fantastic weather as always. Very nice Sunday afternoon. Obviously, hours changed, I think, in the UK, so there's a 4 hour difference now as we head into the winter months. But no, doing really well. Obviously, got some football later on. But I'm doing good. How are you, Ayub? Must be feeling a bit chipper after Friday night.
Absolutely, yeah, especially with that result, with the game that's going on over my shoulder, and it really does make the weekend so good. Do you know when there's no tension on a Saturday, it set me up beautifully. Tense game in the end, it turned out to be a tense game, but wonderful result, much needed. But I'm sure we'll talk about it later on.
I'm sure we will. It was a good result, big result. I mean, you were probably playing the team that you needed to play on a short
Mm.
turnaround after their performance West Ham on Monday. But yes, we will get into it. I'll let you lead us off, Ayub.
Well, there's only one game to talk about, or at least one team to talk about. I mean, we talked about them last week. You were sort of saying it's a small blip. I think it's a little bit more than that, certainly judging by the Liverpool fans. And that's who we're going to talk about, Liverpool. I mean, the result yesterday, that I think makes it, was it 4 losses on out of five? But it was the performance as well. Again, it's like we talked about it last week, where it was very disjointed. It seems that Slot's not really sure of what the best formation is, what tactics. Uh, I've got to say, Brentford absolutely deserved the result. I mean, it got a little bit tight at the end, but Brentford were outstanding. I mean, this is a team. I've got to be honest. And we both talked about potential
Both, yeah.
relegation candidates after yesterday's performance. No chance. They were outstanding, majestic, magnificent. What's your take on not just the game, but really what's happening at Liverpool? And we talked about last week about Slot, and is his job on the line? Obviously, we thought absolutely not. But I've got to be honest, looking at some of the comments of these hardcore Liverpool fans, they're panicking a little bit. They're concerned about Slot and whether he has the answers. And at the moment, it appears he doesn't have the answers.
Yeah, and I think by his own admission, from if you look at some of the quotes post game, he talked about how it was one of the worst performances of his time here. And you're right, watching the game, Ayub. I mean, first and foremost, Brentford, yes, you're right, deserved to win the game. I thought it was quite impressive, actually, that they conceded on the stroke of half time, slightly controversial circumstances with only 3 minutes added on. And obviously, they scored, I think, in the fifth minute. I think it was a bit of a non-event in the sense that I think some of the celebrations from the second goal drifted into the kind of injury time, and hence I think the 3 minutes minimum time became a bit of an issue. But I won't go into that too much. But they still started off the second half really positively, where you'd expect Liverpool to take some of the momentum. I thought Brentford still had the better of it, especially in the second half, and the half was pretty much drifting for Liverpool. That's the word I would use. And similarly, when obviously Salah's got the goal at the end, you'd expect Liverpool, oh, here goes, 4 minutes left. They're going to pile it on. Yeah, it was Brentford actually, who, I mean, yes, Liverpool had a few moments, but still it was Brentford at the other end, throw-ins, corners, and all the rest of it. You're absolutely right. Brentford deserved to win the game. Huge fill-up for Keith Andrews. He's doing a fantastic job. They're playing some good stuff. They are improving from a footballing perspective. It's not just long throws and corners and what have you. And look, we sometimes kind of speak about set plays as though it's still not a goal or it's still not a way of attacking. It's become more and more prevalent this season. It still counts the same. But from a Liverpool perspective, if you're asking me how would you summarise how Liverpool are right now, for me, it's a complete lack of fight, lack of intensity, lack of running. There were some incidents in the first half but I don't know if you watched the game, but where, I mean, Brentford were running across the whole pitch and there were Liverpool players like backing out of challenges as though like, oh, I can't clip him because he's in the middle of the park. I'm thinking, where are the tackles? Where are the sliding tackles? Where's the intensity, the fight, scrap, battle? All the things you want to see when your confidence is a bit low. You think, go back to basics. Let's start keeping clean sheets. It seems like Liverpool are still just saying, let's play and see what it takes us. And I just think it's a completely wrong approach as to where they are now. They've got issues everywhere. You all of a sudden, goalkeeper obviously missing world-class goalkeeper, fullbacks not at the level needed right now. Centre backs having a little shaky moment. Is the captain gave away a penalty again? Questionable. Do I, you know me, you have a high threshold for penalties. It's a little toe on toe. I mean, come on, we're giving penalties for that. It was on the line, but even so, I'm not a huge fan of those type of little itty bitty fouls. But yeah, they look shaky everywhere, middle of the park. They're getting overrun, and it wasn't just. There's still, for me, there's too much talk about low blocks and long throws and long balls. Whereas if you look at the play, they're still getting beaten through the midfield. You saw that goal for Sharda. I mean,
Mm.
you're conceding one-on-ones with the goalkeeper like that. It's schoolboy stuff. Kanate on another day finds an extra yard. He finds a gear that he can access to try and tackle him. But yeah, he's just given up on the situation as though, well, I can't touch him. He's in front of me. Just a complete lack of fight. And I go back to that old adage, and it was, I think, Nasser Hussain who coined it. He talked about how after 2005 Ashes, he said, it's times when you think about like there's a mountain in front of you and you finally climb it. It's as though you never want to see a mountain ever again. I'm not saying it's what's happened to these Liverpool players, but last year there was so much concentration about the Premier League title. They were well ahead of anybody last year. Yet all the post-match interviews, game by game, focusing on the next one. They were acting as though they were only a point ahead or a point behind. It was the level of focus, intensity, concentration. They were desperate to win that title last year. Right now, it feels as though some of them are thinking, well, I mean, going through the motions, that fight, that hunger that you need, Ayub, to achieve the biggest titles in sport seems missing. If you're asking me, I don't see any fight within that team right now. They don't seem together as well. No real spirit. It seems like there's a lot missing. Yes, it's a transitional situation with a lot of players coming into the football club, Ayub. But again, if I'm a manager, for me, I go back to basics when things are tough, saying, guys, 11 men behind the ball, work for one another, graft. I mean, it's poor, complete lack of fight. And it's a real worry if you're Liverpool. I don't think you can just chalk it to, well, it's a transitional year because we've got a lot of players coming in. The only saving grace for them right now, I would say, is they do get the benefit of the doubt because they are the Premier League champions. That carries weight with me. So you'd still say it's early. It's not a wobble. It's a crisis. There's no two ways about it. Now, if they turn some of these defeats into draws, you'd say, look, they're trying to find their way through some of this. Uh, but the lack of intensity and running and ability to tackle and put challenges in to let the opposition know you're not playing through us today. That for me would be the biggest concern. I'd be hugely frustrated if I was a Liverpool fan right now at the complete lack of fight that this team's showing right now. And I mean fight. Like you've got to be scrapping and finding your way through this. So, yeah, look, they're in a world of trouble. Manager doesn't seem to have the solutions right now. I don't think it's as simple as well. A lot of players and all the rest of it. Yeah, but look, you're screaming for talent. You get some of the best talent that's available. Do I think they'll improve as the season goes on? Of course, I do. We saw that with PSG a little bit last year, where first half of the season they weren't. Second half, obviously, they won everything. But that's the best case scenario, isn't it, Eub? And right now, there's a lot of other teams that are better than them in the league as well as Europe. And I go back to it. If you're going to look like a team that's going to concede twos and threes, you're just not going to win much. I mean, it's just too difficult to always need three, to always need four. So they need to go back to basics. They haven't done that yet. Yes, Frankfurt would have seemed to have been some sort of turning point, but for me, that's not the type of game that you want to see if I was a Liverpool fan. Yeah, they were levels above Frankfurt. That's fine, but you want to see a few, situations where it's backs to the wall, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, digging in. You saw that bit with Arsenal last week, not the best against Fulham. But never in that second half you thought, yeah, of course, it's a football game. Things can happen. But you feel kind of assured, don't you, that they know what they're doing. They know how to defend all the rest of it. So, yeah, look, difficult times. Difficult to see them right now, of course, in the title race, so to speak. But I think all teams are going to have a wobble. All teams are going to have some sort of questions to answer in terms of pressure, in terms of scrutiny. I think that comes for everybody, for sure. I'd still say, look, let's see how they manage to dig themselves out. They've got a run of games that you just very quickly before I let you go. I think they've got Villa, and I think they've got City, and I think they've got Forest and West Ham, if I'm not mistaken, there afterwards. they'll be looking to take 10 points from those games. If they get 10 points, get a draw at Etihad, maybe win the others, again, seems it sounds crazy to say, it seems far-fetched right now,
Mm.
but that could really put them back in, get a few confident results, get the confidence going. So, yeah, look, major questions to answer right now. And right now, Slot doesn't seem to be having the solutions. Job security is a nonsense issue for me. I think that's not even a question right now. But for sure, if they want to compete at the highest level, they will not want this season just to drift along a Europe. And yesterday, obviously, a bit of a unique moment. Manchester United above them in the table. Yes, Liverpool's ambitions for exceed, let's say, what Man United are in terms of levels, in terms of where they want to get to. But that was a moment, wasn't it, yesterday, where people were like, United first time in I think 800 days or something crazy like that, that they were above Liverpool in the table. So yeah, the oldest rivals in the game. Liverpool need to get back to basics, need to start grinding and fighting for one another. And right now, it seems one or two of them are thinking, it's all right, we won the Premier League title last year, so some of them just haven't got going this season.
Yeah, it's hard to put your finger on exactly what is happening and why the decline. I mean, you talked about a wobble. I mean, this wobble really started at the start of the season, really, because even the 5 games that they won on the bounce, they weren't convincing. I mean, they were quite fortunate. And I was really trying to sort of think, rack my brain and try and understand what had happened. Now, obviously, they've lost players. Now, I was also thinking maybe perhaps the death of Jota, perhaps has had a more profound impact
Yes.
because obviously Salah is a shell of his former self. Van Dijk's been indifferent. Uh, he was very, very close to a lot of players, Alice McAllister as well. So I don't know whether that has a bearing because in a sense there has to be a period of mourning. And in professional football, perhaps
Yep.
they've not had the opportunity because it's all been very sudden. They've had to really sort of focus on the season because the level of play. I mean, Salah is just he's a shadow of his former self. I mean, again, he scored yesterday. I mean, I think that was his first important contribution in about 5 or 6 games. But again, it's a losing cause. So really, it's people are not going to really pay too much attention to it. But he's been awful. I mean, I've got to be honest. He's been absolutely horrific. Uh, Van Dijk as well. I mean, we've loaded him as one of these inspirational leaders. If ever there was a need for a leader to stand up and be counted, it's now. But he seems to be sort of not that leader. I mean, we'll talk about the penalty, but again, it's just indecision, it's mistakes. Kanata, you're absolutely right. I mean, he should have been busting a gut, and now he is quite gangly, but he is quite quick. He's deceptively quick. He never made an effort, and you're right. I think he threw in the towel. So there's a lot of issues, and as I said, it's difficult to try and pin your finger on exactly what the cause is. I mean, they've lost Trent Arnold, they've lost Luis Diaz, who was fantastic. I think you sometimes really appreciate. I think he was appreciated, but sometimes you really appreciate a player when they've gone. And I think Diaz not being there is a
Yep.
massive haul, apart from Trent Arnold as well and Jota as well. I mean, he was sort of for large parts he was always injured, but when he did play, he was superb. I mean, he was a very, very clever player. He was one of my favourite players. So again, it's losing players, but also I suppose with Jota, it was not just losing a player, but it was obviously the passing of a player. And as I said, I don't know because I'm trying to really understand what I saw yesterday was embarrassing. I've got to be honest. I mean, that was an embarrassing performance, and they were if they'd have got away with a draw at the end, it would have been an absolute travesty. But I think Slot's gonna have to really dig deep. I don't think he, at the moment, appears to be a guy who sort of gives me that confidence that he sort of knows where he needs to go. I think he's confused, and the last thing you need is a confused manager. But we'll just focus on the game a little bit. I mean, we'll talk. I mean,
Yep.
we'll sort of talked about the obviously the Van Dijk the penalty. I mean, you've obviously talked about when a penalty should be given, when it should be given. But in terms of the incident, I mean, I've got to be honest. I mean, there was the minimal amount of contact. The players sort of, I mean, it almost seemed like a delayed reaction. But again, it is if we're giving pens for that, then really, as soon as there's any sort of contact, surely, I mean, if it is, I always say it's a contact sport. The impact has to be sufficient, surely, uh, for a player to either fall down or to be impeded. That to me was neither. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about the rules of the game, but I mean, it was a pivotal moment. It was 2-1 at the time. It became 3-1, and obviously, I suppose it made it much more of a huger mountain for Liverpool to climb. What's your thoughts? And I know obviously you've already sort of talked
Hmm.
at length about what should be penalties, what shouldn't be penalties. But again, is this what we want to see in the game?
The implementation of VAR this season, by and large, from what I've observed at Europe, has been nothing short of a shambles. I watch as many incidents as I can. I try and cover as many games as possible, read the talking points, watch the incidents. It's an absolute mishmash right now, the implementation of VAR. Notice how I say implementation because I don't have an issue with VAR. It just simply provides you with a slowed down view multiple times at different angles to be able to make an informed decision. Nothing wrong with that. All good. But the implementation is absolutely haphazard right now. I'll give you one small example. Anthony Taylor last week, we had the issue with Bukayo Saka against Fulham. For me, it's a penalty. He makes knee on knee contact as the player. I think it's Kevin. Then gets the absolute featherous touch of the ball. Again, that comes secondary after the knee on knee clash. It's a penalty. He's given a penalty. He then goes to the screen to reverse his decision. I was disappointed. Fair enough. He was the referee yesterday at Old Trafford. 1 week on, you saw some of the situations that were not given. Absolutely shocking decisions. I mean, the Diallo incident at the beginning, it's a clear cut penalty. What's the issue? And there was some talk that the player, I don't know if you saw the incident, but there was some talk that the player got a little bit of the ball. He
Mm,
doesn't. So on the one hand, you're saying, got a little bit of the ball, so I'm going to overturn my decision. Yet 7 days later, you make a decision. 6 days later, you make a decision to say, no, not enough. For a penalty, he's got a little bit. It for me it doesn't make any sense. It was a clear cut penalty. I cannot believe for the life of me how that wasn't given. You saw the incident. I don't know for the third goal against for Mbeumo yesterday. Um, Clear flick, clear tug of the shirt. I mean, it's
mm,
a tug of the shirt. Even Gary Neville was like, "That's always
mm,
given. It's a tug of the shirt," and the argument was, "Well, it's minimal." No, that's always any tug of the shirt for me. Minimal. It's a stoppage in play, and you give the free kick. How that wasn't. So my point is, week on week, we're having this issue. The issue yesterday with the referee, who went off at half time with a hamstring injury, maybe he was a little bit distracted with the minutes in the first half, the additional minutes, because that got Brentford quite angry yesterday and frustrated. Maybe, who knows? I'm not sure what the story is there. Again, some of the celebrations did drift, I think, into injury time, so maybe there's some of that. But for me, I mean, the replacement referee, yes, once he's given a foul, I think VAR then has to adjudicate whether it was inside or outside. That's not the issue because the VAR can't, in a sense, get involved to say, well, it was inside. They could have said, look, it's inside, but we think you should look at it again. I mean, it's clear Van Dijk does get his toes or whatever, toe on toe, boot on boot contact. But for me, we have to get back to having a high threshold for penalties. I mean, he's going away from goal. And yes, is it lazy from Van Dijk? Yes. Is it stupid knowing that I should at least let him get outside the box before I put the challenge in? Absolutely. He should know better. I don't think Liverpool fans would disagree. But we've got to stop giving penalties away for this stuff. Then every fan under the sun's arguing for, oh, there was a touch there, so it's a penalty. It creates this behaviour and arguments for teams and fans alike to say, well, if that was given last week, this we have to just have a very high threshold to say, look, a penalty is pretty much a goal. I say pretty much. What did we say? 82% last time.
mm,
You've got to be careful about giving these left and right just for sheer entertainment purposes because we want more goals in the game. It is ridiculous. I mean, he's going away from goal. You tell me, what are the chances that ends up being a clear cut goal scoring opportunity? No chance. Like he's
mm,
probably going to have a shot, all the rest of it. So for me, we've just got to be very careful. I just can't have. Some people say, "Oh, it's a foul." Really? It's a man's sport. Come on, you've got to play with fighting and it's 11 against 11. It's your best against our best, and it's a contact sport. So for me, not really. I didn't have it as a foul. Yeah, boot on boot contact, absolutely, just not enough. I mean, he throws himself to the floor like he's been shot. So disappointing if you're a Liverpool fan, but honestly, with VAR this season, par for the course, if you ask me.
I'm just going to challenge you on what you've said. I mean, in a sense, it's almost sort of slightly contradictory because I think on the one hand, you're absolutely right. I think where some of the 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 fouls that have been given are minuscule. I mean, the contact is minuscule. Uh, but with the Manchester United one, because I think even though there was a tug on the shirt, it wasn't sufficient. I mean, that to me was almost what I want to see because it's got to be sufficient. I always say that it's a contact sport. Now,
It's a
if the
cynical foul
contact,
at you.
I think I don't think it was. I think it was it is grabbed hold of. his shirt, but not fiercely enough, in my opinion. I think it was exactly what I want to see. I think the impact, if it's with the Van Dijk, that touch, never in a million years should a player go down. What he's done is he's obviously realised that the ball was going. I think there was a Liverpool player, so he's there's a step and then he goes down. Whereas with, I think it was Rutter whose shirt was being pulled. I mean, again, that was minimum. Rutter's a big boy. He's a big, strong boy. There is absolutely no way that impeded him. I think again whether the touch was quite strong. So I think this is this is what I want to see. I want to see where this contact. Absolutely, it's a contact sport. The contact has to be significant enough to have impeded or to have obviously fouled a player.
But let me
It
but let
yeah,
me
go on.
ask you: Is a tug of the shirt is the tug of a shirt a footballing play? And would you agree that Rutter was going in one direction and a shirt pull would force you to stop going into that direction? You'd agree with that, right?
It depends on the ferocity of the pull.
Is it a
We've both
footballing
played the
play?
game. We
Is it a
both played.
footballing play? Is it a footballing play?
I'm still sort of maintaining my position that
If
was if we're
if you
talking
watch
about
if you watch Luke Shaw's reaction, we
mm,
shouldn't just go off reactions, but he's wrong side. That's the first thing.
yeah,
And when he pulls him, just watch him. He keeps running backwards without even looking back. If ever there's a sign that a player knows, yep, got the foul, probably take the yellow, no issues. He actually keeps running in the defensive direction without once looking back because he knows I've committed an offence. I know how this
yeah,
works. I turn around, referee gives me yellow. To not you, that is 100 times out of 100 times. That's a free kick. You know that. I
right.
know that.
So what I would then say is, I mean, we've both played the game, obviously at a, a lower level than professional football, but there's tugging, there's pulling constantly. It is. I mean, it's. I've sort of pulled shirts. I've had my shirt pulled. Uh, a lot of
Steady
times
on,
it's just
steady on.
is it,
Sorry, carry on.
but a lot of times it's fine because if physically, I mean a lot, I mean if somebody absolutely yanks at it, then it's a different story. This was not a yank. This was a it was trying to impede, but it what I don't think it was sufficient. I think that's what you're talking about thresholds. This is where we because if there's any pull of the shirt, if it's just holding the shirt, is that a foul? That's what I'm
Yeah,
asking.
but Ayub, it's not a football play. That's my argument. Yes, you're right. Do I think he was absolutely yanking it for 3 seconds, 4 seconds, all the rest of it as we do sometimes, like really cynical? No, absolutely not. But it's not in the rules of the game to pull someone's shirt. It can be a small pull or it doesn't exist. The rule it doesn't exist where you can actually grab. Now, contact is subjective because you're saying, well, Van Dijk has made contact, but is it strong enough? That's a subjective nuance to the fact that we've accepted there's an offence in the first place. But a pull doesn't exist. If it's a pull, it's a free kick because you can't do that. Like that's the point. You
So,
cannot do that.
so what I'm saying is every single game, it's like today, there's going to be about 3 or 4 games today. So if there is any pull in the box, usually always there's lots of jostling. You watch. So every single time, that's where my
Yeah.
argument is. It's not a case of you're absolutely right in terms of the absolute law of the game. Yeah, absolutely. It's something which is, but there has to be. This is where my argument about having ex pros. You've got to have somebody who understands the game because we're this is it's this is the biggest sport in the world. But you've got amateurs, really. I mean, even though the professional referees, I consider the fact that they've not played the game. Now, it doesn't automatically mean that just because they've played the game, they're going to be better referees. But at least it helps. I mean, we've talked about cricket in the past as well. That most of the cricket umpires, especially in the UK, especially in England, are former players. And historically, England have had the best umpires. There's a correlation, and there's a reason why there's a correlation. So I think same if at least they've played the game. They understand. I mean, it's the contact that Van Dijk made. Never in a million years should that have been even given a foul. In this case, it turned out to be a deep, sort of decisive penalty. So I think somewhere along the line, somebody needs to say. I mean, it won't happen. Obviously, we've talked about this many, many times, but I think it's something that I think the Football Association really need to look at. There has to be some sort of independence given to good referees, and this is it's a different another argument that we need to identify good referees, but we need to look at the rulings because it can't just be we cannot have a game which is as high profile as I mean it the importance and the value of odd decisions is huge. It's astronomical. The impact it can have. You can't. And as I said, I mean, I've got a soft spot for Liverpool, so maybe there's a bias in that, but that is just ridiculous. I mean, that when I saw that, that just it's that's not the game that I sort of love.
Yeah, agreed. And to be honest, again, going back to Old Trafford, there were a couple of incidents which I thought United were really shortchanged. I told you, Diallo penalty incident. I just do not understand how he's not given that. That's clear cut. It's not even questionable in terms of, and especially the defender's been so lazy with that challenge. And then even the one that's led to the Welbeck free kick goal. I mean, Doku's trying not to make contact. The goalkeeper's already picked
Yeah,
the ball up. I mean, is that a goal scoring opportunity if the goalkeeper's picked the ball up? I mean, I don't. We've got to bring some common sense into these situations. He gets a yellow, he scores a free kick when, again, it was way too heavy a touch, I think, from Minte, who had a good game, everything but the final product. Looks raw, very raw. But yeah, all in all, you're right. Some very questionable decisions yesterday. But again, we see that week in, week out, unfortunately. And no doubt we'll see a few more today as well.
right. That's our thoughts on it. I'd love to know about the viewers, what their thoughts on the games, what their thoughts on slot are. Uh, but let's talk about something more pleasurable. There's two teams who were promoted who are doing well. I was going to say we're doing reasonably well. I mean, I still sort of think that we've not done as well as we should have done, but there's one team that's doing incredibly well. I mean, I think it would be remiss to not sort of talk about Sunderland. Absolutely outstanding. And I sort of called it. I mean, I sent out a tweet that I tweeted in May when they got promoted that I wanted, from a Leeds perspective, I wanted Sheffield United to get through, only because I knew that if Sunderland got promoted, they were much more likely to attract better players because they've got a coach who's got a wonderful reputation, and it's panned out exactly the way that I predicted, even better. I mean, I thought they'd just do okay, but I didn't think they would be sitting second after beating Chelsea at the Bridge, and deservedly so. What's your thoughts on Sunderland?
Yeah, just very quickly, there was a funny little tidbit. I think that Sky Sports do asking managers, what's the first thing you do in the morning or something like that. And I think Sunderland coach responded with say hi to the dog and then to the wife in that order as well. So it was quite funny actually. But yeah, look, he's done. They've done really well, incredibly well. I think they sit second right now in the Premier League table. And Ayub, I mean, you'll agree with this. The form of Sunderland, Burnley, and Leeds is the single reason why some of these owners, especially at the bottom, are behaving and acting in the way they are in terms of decisions. And I think there's a few more to come. The fact that normally we've seen back-to-back seasons with the promoted teams going straight back down. I think we spoke about this last year. I think multiple times there were a lot of owners trying to stay in the Premier League on the cheap, right? Ultimately,
Mm.
not spending too much money because ultimately the objective was to finish 17th, and by default, due to the fact there were three worse teams, they were going to finish 17th and preserve a hugely lucrative Premier League status. That's not the case this year. That's been really thrown into chaos with the form of Sunderland, who may already have enough to stay up. And what I mean by that is, do I think they're going to lose every single game from now on? No. So just by sheer fact that even if they were to have a downward form, they're still going to pick up enough few wins and few draws that may well keep them up due to the fact some other teams are massively struggling. Wolves, West Ham, Forest, just to name a few. So, yeah, look, I think it's a fantastic story, first and foremost, that the three teams are competing as well as they are. And it's all three teams. I think it's your team, Sunderland, and Burnley. I think all of them, by and large, yes, Sunderland take the headlines. Huge, huge result yesterday. I mean, winning it at the death. Um, and Chelsea will be disappointed with that. They've done some of the hard yards this season. Now it's time to really push on, and to lose at home to a promoted club will really knock them. But from a Sunderland perspective, incredible, incredible result. I mean, they are again a couple of wins shy, I think, of pretty much they'll be safe by Christmas in terms of being comfortable and feeling really confident about themselves. And like I said, for me, the big story to look out for is what this means for some of the other clubs. And I'm looking at obviously Forest. Now, obviously, with Sean Dyche, let's see how that goes. They've obviously made the decision to go to somebody who's renowned for keeping teams in the Premier League as best as can. West Ham looks so short. I mean, yes, they came up against a Leeds team that started very strong. I'll let you speak about it more than I. But some of these teams are you just wonder whether or not there could be even more managerial changes. Again, Nuno, let's see how that goes. Wolves, they rewarded their manager, I think, with a big contract, I think just 4 weeks ago. And they are really struggling. So incredible story, fantastic. You're a huge fan of their manager. I'll let you speak to that. I think they've done a wonderful job yesterday to come from behind as well at a tough ground shows what they've got in that squad. And again, harping back to Liverpool, that's what's missing right now. That fight, that sticking game, stay strong. There was a situation 1-1 yesterday. I was saying to my son, whilst watching the Chelsea Sunderland game, I was like, look how well organized they are. They know everyone knows you drop in. It's the 80th minute. We're short of a draw. Just hang in there. It was just very well organized, structured, team effort, team spirit, on show, on display. You can see when a team's playing for one another. It's very obvious when you watch the games. And then obviously go up the other end. And right now they've got enough about them to score goals. So they'll probably feel, let's stay in games. We've got enough about us. So fantastic story. I think Sunderland stay up. I think they stay up, Ayub. I think that much is clear. They'd have to have a catastrophic collapse from here to find themselves in the mix, and that's huge testament to the whole football club to be in the position they are. So incredible. Just very quickly, Ayub, in terms of your team, you can speak about Sunderland as well. Of course, want to hear your thoughts, but huge win on Friday gives you a bit of breathing space. I think that's what 6, 8 clear of the drop. I think you'll know better than I do, but that's got to give you some confidence that right, okay, bit of breathing space. If we can go on a little bit of a run, pick up some exceptional results, who knows? Maybe you can start breathing a bit more safely as well. How do you see it for Leeds?
Well, I'm still not confident. I still think we're probably most likely to go down. And the reason why I say that is not just being an eternal pessimist. The last two games that we played is against Burnley, who probably will be sort of bottom three. And we got beat 2-0. And it was quite a comfortable victory for Burnley. This is the worst side at the moment in the Premier League, West Ham. I mean, they've got some very, very good players, but it's a club which is in a state of flux at this moment in time. We started strongly. It's Ellen Road, so we always tend to start strongly. But I think that was more to do with the fact that West Ham was so poor. I mean, there were gaping holes, uh, and they played on Monday, and that was something I was sort of hoping that would have an impact. Whether that did have an impact, I'm not too sure. But they bereft of confidence, absolutely no confidence at all. I think Nuno's not arrested the slide, so we play them at the right time. I mean, and that's the reason why I'm sort of thinking we've played Burnley, we lost. We played West Ham, a team that really we should have beaten, and we beat them 2-1 in the end. It was squeaky bomb time, and we conceded again. I mean, we've done that so often where we
Yep,
concede late, and again, that's a mentality issue. The second half, West Ham sort of we sat deep, and this is a criticism of Fark. We're 2-0 up. We really should have been about three or four in the first half, and again, it's that that uh, that inability or the lack of quality that we have in the attacking third. We didn't sort of capitalize on the opportunities created. Second half, we just sat back. And in the Premier League, no matter who it is, if you're sitting back,
yep,
every team in the Premier League does have decent players, and they've got Bowen, they've got Somerville, they've got a few others, Susek as well. So there's enough quality there, and they kept knocking at the door. Now I've got to say, I mean, it wasn't as if they were absolutely pounding at the door. But then they scored in the 90th minute, and I was thinking, oh no, I don't let there be a repeat of the Bournemouth result
yep.
because we've lost points at the fag end of games. So I'm not overly optimistic. These are two games that I would have expected 6 points, to be honest. We've got three. So that is the reason why I'm not confident. The next batch of games, we're not playing the likes of Burnley. We're not like playing the likes of West Ham. So it's going to be a real struggle. We've competed, which is all well and good, but at the end of the day, you've got to show something for it. We've not shown much for all the competitive elements we've shown in our game. So I'm not overly enthusiastic, happy and pleased, but I still sort of think we'll go down. Uh, in contrast to Sunderland, I mean, I just think that what Sunderland have done is absolutely fantastic. I mean, this manager that they've got, Regis Lebris, I mean, if you look at his history, he's not had, I mean, I think it was a team called Lorient, which is not a huge name in France. experience. They've got French owners. I think my understanding is they've got French owners. So obviously there's a French connection there. But he's done a wonderful job at Sunderland, and he's a guy who's cultivated a really good reputation. Uh, he's attracted players that Fark unfortunately can't attract. It's a big stadium as well. I mean, it's got 48,000, I think, the capacity. So Sunderland does have the ingredients to attract better players, bigger players, because it was a former established Premier League club. I mean, I think they've not been in the Premier League for about 8 or 9 years, but everything is set up for success, or at least stability in the Premier League. This manager has done a wonderful job. They've recruited, and that was the difference between us and Sunderland. We've been dithering in the transfer market. I mean, our first signing was Lucas Nemecha, a free signing. And in a sense, that set the precedence because as soon as we bought this free player in who not pulled up any trees,
Yeah.
I started panicking because the first signing should have been a statement signing to say, right, we're in the Premier League, we're here to make a mark. Sunderland did that. They were signing really good players. They were paying over the odds, and I don't mind that. I don't mind that sometimes paying over the odds. And I think the icing on the cake for Sunderland was Granit Xhaka. A player that we've talked about before briefly, but it's a player that you
Yep.
know very, very well.
Yep.
That is a leader. And when I look at Sunderland play, this is a completely different team to the one that played in the Championship. I mean, I mean, you talked about the transition for Liverpool. This is a brand new team virtually, and they're making a mark. So it doesn't
Yep.
automatically mean that because if you've got new players, you've got to give them time to bed in. Sometimes if you've got a really good, smart coach, they bed in straight away, and this is what they've done. Uh, Absolute kudos to Sunderland. Uh, they will be comfortable. I mean, I've got a feeling they'll finish top 10 in the end because they're a damn good side. They stay in games. There's a great work ethic, and Jacques has been outstanding. I mean, the when you look at the forums, he's not a flair player, but he's a player that you need. And Sunderland, I think, are hugely fortunate they've got him. But I don't think it's a case of fortune. I think it's the fact that they've
Yep.
got Regis Lebris, who's been able to attract a player of that caliber.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're right. Top 10's a big shout. Let's see if they can keep that form going. There's nothing on the pitch that suggests that they can't achieve that. I think you're being a bit harsh on Leeds. I thought they played some wonderful stuff actually first half. Yes, West Ham. I mean, those goals are comical. I mean, the first one, it's a joke. From a defensive perspective, it's a joke. I mean, how can you let a situation where I mean, Wan-Bissaka and the other they're just like, well, is it to you, to me, to I mean, and Aronson, rightly so. I mean, he just gets in, shows a little bit of initiative, taps it in. The set piece, I mean, Paqueta, that's horrible when your team's scrapping and fighting and all the rest of it, and you can lose a man. I mean, he didn't do too much to lose him, did he? Just a little kind of not
Mm,
pirouette, but just a little
mm.
run, gets ahead of him. Probably should have jostled a bit more in the set piece area, but I mean, good header. Well done to the Leeds player for getting out of the way. Otherwise, he'd have blocked it. But fantastic 2-0 early doors. You're thinking, yeah. And I thought Leeds actually do. I've watched them quite a bit this season. I thought they played some lovely stuff in terms of their ability to pass. I mean, they work three man situations at the back in terms of having that extra man to play out, and they're happy to go through the middle in terms of playing through the thirds. Lacking a bit of quality, you can see that in terms of then that final third. I'm not a huge fan of Calvert Lewin. You can speak to it better than I can. I think he's very limited as a footballer at this stage after all the injuries that he's had. If Leeds had a proper marksman, I think it might give them a bit more confidence heading into this second half of the season. So, look, I think they did really well. They deserve to win the game. So let's be clear. They've had a little bit of rotten luck. Bournemouth, you mentioned as well, in a few other situations. So I think they are where they are. I think rightly so. 6 points. I just had a quick sneaky little look. 6 points ahead of the relegation zone. And you spoke earlier, Ayub, about Burnley, going down, and I still see some of the more established teams, and I say established, quote unquote, like your Wolves, your Forests, your West Hams. Yes, Forest might have dashed. That doesn't guarantee anything. Yes, they had a good win midweek in Europe, but ultimately, and yeah, look, we know it's Dyche. He's going to get them organised and all the rest of it, but. I still believe there's an opportunity for the three promoted clubs. It'd be incredible if all three stayed up. Absolutely incredible. But again, I think they've got the owners of some football clubs very nervous right now. in terms of the form. I think Sunderland, like you said, they might be over the hill in terms of out of sight.
Mm.
Burnley and Leeds, they'll feel as though they can still reel them back in, but Scott Parker, I think Leeds making a good fist of it. Very interesting. I think it's a great storyline to see how does that develop because if those two clubs can stay very competitive, which they're showing to be, I mean, Leeds have been competitive in games that you, for the most part,
Mm.
you might say Arsenal away, perhaps the one exception, but they've tried and they've been bereft of quality, but they've stayed in games and been a bit unlucky at times. If they could pick up enough draws and just keep some momentum going, they've got a little gap right now. I mean, you'd have snapped my hand off if I said to you 9, 10 games in, you're going to be six clear of the relegation zone. So, you take what you
Mm.
get. I think it's going to be one of the more interesting storylines. I'm very interested to see what happens with Wolves. Like I said, he just got a new contract, but he got a contract because he was amazing last year, and Wolves did really well last year in terms of just the finish of the season. They now obviously got a few players missing, a total reset. They've had a shocking start to the season. Lost a couple of key players, Nuri, Cunha, just to name a few. So I think that's the one to keep an eye on because I think if that continues and they get caught adrift, no doubt we'll probably be seeing a change there as well. Just to quickly switch gears, you very quickly before we finish. Old Trafford yesterday, big win. I know we touched on it earlier with the incidents, but I think that's what 3 Premier League wins on the bounce now for Ruben Amorim, up to fourth. Really strong position, feel good factor. Stadium was bouncing yesterday. I thought Brighton had a lot of that game. To be fair, probably just short of quality. United won the moments, bit lucky with some deflections here and there, but fine, that's par for the course. How do you see it? What's their ceiling this year? And have you been impressed with them in terms of how they played yesterday specifically?
I wouldn't say I was impressed. I mean, I think what they have, certainly in terms of the forward line, in terms of Mbeumo and Cunha, I mean, I was really pleased that Cunha scored yesterday. I think he's
Yeah,
been outstanding.
lovely
Uh,
finish.
yeah, I mean, you could argue that he's almost been their player of the season thus far. But that's the problem because I think they've got real quality, and this is where maybe the argument about having quality makes a difference. You can play sort of okay, but if you've got quality, they can score goals and they can have moments, magical moments, and that's the difference at the moment. I mean, it's there's an upward curve. I still won't sort of say that this is a team that that everything is clicking.
Yep,
You're right. Brighton were on another day. Brighton probably would have ended with 3 points. I mean, again, it got in the end, it was quite comfortable 4-2, but it got a little bit nervous again. Brighton are a decent side. I mean, they've been a bit of a bogey side for Man United, but again, I think this is a season where there needs to be a foundation laid. I think there's some quality now. I think with Cunha and Buemo, I think Sesko as well. I think once he sort of knows exactly what his role is, and now I obviously he's obviously been told what
yep,
his role is, but I think once he feels comfortable in his skin, comfortable at Old Trafford, that's a potent
yep,
front line. I mean, it'll probably be as good as any front line uh, in the Premier League. So the foundations are there. Fernandez as well. I mean, I think Fernandez he obviously is a player that sort of has mixed reviews, but
yep,
on his day he's magnificent. On his day he's absolutely magnificent. I was watching the game with Mo yesterday. Mo was sort of saying about his energy levels, his uh, how much ground he covers, and he does. I mean, and on his day he is sensational. I mean, he's got the energy. He's got an eye for a pass. He can score goals. Uh, I think if they can add to that defense, I still think is shaky. I think it's not a defense that sort of would fill if I was a Man United
yep,
supporter fill me with confidence. So I think there's still some work to be done in terms of recruitment. But at least in terms of the attacking third, I think
yep,
they're outstanding. I think they've really finally sort of been able to get a forward line that will stand them in good stead. I think the attitude of the front three as well, and Buema, I think he's got a wonderful attitude. I think Cunha is superb. I think he sort of puts in a shift and a half, uh, sort of week in, week out, whenever he's playing. So I think the ingredients are there, but I think it needs to be added before I think you can sort of say United are back. But at the end of the day, they're getting some results, so at least it's a good starting point.
yeah. Absolutely, well summarized. You're right. I think the especially you said that the attitude word. Absolutely. I mean, Mbeumo and Cunha, they exemplify what that attitude needs to be, right? And they've got rid of Garnacho, they've got rid of Rashford, albeit on loan and what have you, but they've replaced him on the forward line with players who are willing to work, willing to grind, and Fernandez. He's such a good player in terms of, you're right. I think sometimes his application, you think of him as of a luxury player, but he runs, there's a lot of effort there and all the rest of it. He's got class, but now he's got players willing to run the other way. And that's all he's ever needed in terms of players willing to run the other way. Mbeumo, in terms of his positioning, his conviction, his desire to get into the areas. You saw that last week at Anfield, the desire to make that vertical run, get on his bike. And I loved, even just very quickly on last week, he took a swing on his weaker foot, because when you're that close, just take a swing. It's fine. Don't try and
Yeah.
cut back in and all the rest of it. So it's that clarity of thought as well, isn't it, Ayub? So right now they've got a clear focus, and they've got an idea that, well, even if we just stick in games, we've got enough up the other end that there's situations and transitions that we can make it work. So fantastic signings, if you ask me.
Mm.
I think their seeding is top four. Because again, the eye test tells me that it's still a bit short in terms of teams still can play around them at times. But I anticipate many more good days for Manchester United. I'm pleased for the manager, because he's somebody that I think we both very much liked.
Yeah.
And I think some of it just takes time. Do I think he's completely out of the woods? I think he is, to some respect, for this season. I think he's probably put that to bed in terms of this season, any noise, any negative noise and all the
Mm.
rest of it. I think now the club just wants to say, look, let's go forward. Top four was the aim. And they were probably saying that privately as though it's still a big jump from 16, 15, whatever they finished, to fourth. But right now, you look at the landscape, Ayub, and you say, right, which teams are definitively better than Manchester United? Now, I can still name for me three or four, but then they're probably in that next group, aren't they, Ayub? So, yeah, I mean, look, some clubs are having a wobble. United are having, obviously, like you mentioned, upward curve. I think that's fair. Coach obviously feeling good about himself, and even that last goal very quickly. I mean, it's come from a pass from a bit of a transition situation, but again, in Burma, just no messing about. Just I know
Mm.
what I need to do. I need to run onto it, bang. And I just love that type of conviction in knowing what you need to do, no dithering. So, listen, I think Manchester United can look positive towards the future. I don't see them challenging for the title simply because my eyes tell me that they're not one of the best teams in the
Mm.
league, week in, week out, in terms of the performance, because results will come there afterwards. But can they finish top four? Right now, looking at the landscape, Liverpool going through a difficult time, Chelsea losing at home in an unexpected game. You'd say they're in amongst that group that can then see some of those spots. So fantastic result, positivity, and Old Trafford. If they can continue to push that, Ayub, over the coming weeks and months, that place slowly could become somewhat of a fortress. But yeah, long way to go. The demise was quite long as well, so I don't see that being turned around in a few games. I think they're going to have to produce a lot more consistent results. But again, they are showing some serious signs of promise. The only worry I would have very quickly, Ayub, is if one of those front three, especially Mbeumo or
Mm.
Cunha, got injured for a period of time. I think that drops them down significant levels. If one of those two picked up an injury, for any length period of time, I think they can kiss goodbye to top four, just because they are those who are. They just add a different dimension to that attack all of a sudden. So yeah, positive vibes for Manchester United, and it's been a while since we said that, Ayub.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with the importance of keeping especially Mbeumo and Cunha, injury free. Light at the end of the tunnel at last at United, or at least it appears
Agreed.
to be the case. Right. That's a positive note to end, which is very rare, because usually when we talk about Man United, it's always doom and gloom. But if you're a United fan, cause for optimism. Right. And on
Yes.
that note, I'm sure you're probably going to get ready for to watch Arsenal in about an hour's time. So I'll sort of let you get settled. All right. So as always, a pleasure to speak to you. Good to see you as well. And the
Likewise.
audience as well. Thank you so much for joining us. And until the next time, enjoy yourself. Take care. We'll see you soon. Ta-da.